Chapter 1. The end of an era. In the early days of 14 AD, whispers circulated through the streets of Rome. Augustus, the man who had brought peace and unity to Rome after decades of civil war, was gravely ill. For over 40 years, Augustus had been the architect of the Roman Empire, reshaping it from a republic fraught with internal conflict into a sprawling, cohesive empire under a central authority. But now, age and illness had finally caught up with him, and the citizens of Rome anxiously awaited the future of their beloved leader. In his final days, Augustus left Rome and retreated to the coastal town of Nola, where he sought respite from the noise of the capital. Accompanied by his wife, Livia, and close advisors, he was surrounded by those he trusted most. Tiberius, his stepson and chosen successor, was summoned. Augustus had long prepared Tiberius for this role, grooming him through various military campaigns and administrative positions. But now, as death loomed, Augustus saw in Tiberius the future of Rome. Chapter 2. The moment of passing. It was on a quiet morning in August that Augustus drew his final breath. His last words, as recorded by ancient historians, carried the weight of a man who knew he had changed the course of history. Did I play my part well in the comedy of life? With that, Augustus was gone, and a silence fell over the imperial villa. Livia, ever composed, called for Tiberius, who had been waiting just beyond the room. When he entered and saw the lifeless form of Augustus, he felt a heavy burden descend upon him. The man who had reshaped Rome, who had survived wars, betrayals, and personal losses, was no more. And now, Rome looked to Tiberius. Chapter 3. The uncertain heir. Though Tiberius had been named as the official successor, he harbored doubts. Unlike Augustus, Tiberius was known for his reserved nature, often uncomfortable with the grandeur of public life. The people of Rome did not yet know him as their ruler, and he felt the weight of the expectations and comparisons that would inevitably come. He knew that he could never escape the shadow of Augustus, and this realization both motivated and troubled him. In a letter Augustus had left behind, Tiberius read his adoptive father's advice and counsel for ruling Rome. The letter encouraged him to remain firm but compassionate, to remember the lessons of humility and resilience that Augustus had instilled. Tiberius was now faced with a choice: embrace the role he had been groomed for, or let Rome fall into disarray without a steady hand. Chapter 4. The journey to Rome. A state funeral was planned to bring Augustus's body back to Rome for burial, and Tiberius, along with a large entourage of senators, military leaders, and family, accompanied the procession. As they traveled, crowds gathered along the way, paying respects to their fallen leader. Many were grief-stricken, fearing the uncertain future ahead. Rome had never known an emperor other than Augustus, and the idea of another ruler felt foreign, even unsettling. The journey took days, and during this time, Tiberius reflected on the role he was about to assume. He felt the pressure of Augustus's legacy with every step, aware that the people of Rome were watching him closely, searching for signs of their new emperor. In quiet moments, he spoke with his mother, Livia, seeking her wisdom. Livia, herself a master of political finesse, reminded him that Augustus's legacy was one he could honor without losing his own identity. Chapter 5. Augustus's funeral and Rome's grief. The city of Rome was shrouded in mourning as Augustus's body was brought to the Forum. The Senate organized an elaborate state funeral, attended by dignitaries from across the empire. Tiberius, standing before the assembled masses, spoke words of tribute to Augustus. His voice, though steady, carried the grief of a son and the solemnity of a successor. Rome has lost a father, Tiberius began. A man who restored peace and brought prosperity to our land. His legacy will endure in the hearts of all who call themselves Roman. Following the funeral rites, Augustus was laid to rest in the mausoleum he had built years before. The Senate passed a resolution to honor Augustus with divine status, recognizing him as one of the Roman gods, a powerful symbol of his enduring legacy. Chapter 6. Assumption of power. After the funeral, Tiberius was formally presented to the Senate as the new princeps, or first citizen. Although his title was not king or emperor in the traditional sense, the power vested in him by Augustus's reforms gave him near total control over the military, legal, and administrative affairs of the empire. The Senate, many of whom were veterans of Augustus's reign, pledged their loyalty to Tiberius, though some senators harbored reservations about the new ruler. Tiberius accepted the authority reluctantly, careful to project a sense of continuity rather than ambition. He vowed to maintain the stability and prosperity that Augustus had achieved, though privately, he understood that the challenges awaiting him would be unique. Among the first acts of his reign was to secure the loyalty of the provinces, sending envoys to reassure regional leaders of his commitment to peace and stability. Chapter 7. The challenges of succession. The transition of power was not without its challenges. Tiberius quickly found himself contending with rivals who saw the death of Augustus as an opportunity to gain influence. One of these figures was Germanicus, Tiberius's popular nephew, whose charisma and success in military campaigns made him a favorite among the Roman legions. Although Germanicus posed no immediate threat, his popularity in the army added an element of tension to Tiberius's reign. Furthermore, Tiberius was aware that certain senators viewed him as a stopgap, a temporary ruler who lacked the charisma and grandeur of Augustus. He encountered resistance within the Senate, where influential figures sought to assert their power and test the limits of his authority. Chapter 8. The burden of legacy. In the months following Augustus's death, Tiberius struggled with the weight of his predecessor's legacy. The people of Rome, having idolized Augustus for decades, scrutinized every decision Tiberius made. He knew that he would be forever compared to Augustus and that his reign would be judged against the standards set by his adoptive father. This burden weighed heavily on Tiberius. Unlike Augustus, he was not naturally inclined toward public displays of affection or elaborate gestures. His leadership style was more subdued, focused on pragmatism and discipline rather than spectacle. While this approach suited the administration of the empire, it did little to endear him to the masses, who longed for the familiar warmth of Augustus. Chapter 9. Establishing authority. Determined to consolidate his power, Tiberius embarked on a series of initiatives aimed at fortifying Rome's institutions. He placed trusted allies in key positions, ensuring that those closest to him shared his vision for stability and order. One of his earliest initiatives was the reorganization of the Praetorian Guard, the elite unit tasked with protecting the emperor. By appointing Sejanus, a loyal officer, to oversee the guard, Tiberius secured a powerful ally who would act as both protector and enforcer. Tiberius also implemented policies to streamline the administration of the provinces, prioritizing efficiency and accountability. His efforts to curb corruption and promote fiscal responsibility earned him the respect of Rome's provincial governors, who appreciated his pragmatic approach to governance. Chapter 10. Conclusion. A new era for Rome. As the year progressed, Tiberius began to settle into his role as emperor. The transition had been fraught with challenges, but he remained resolute in his commitment to honor Augustus's legacy. Rome was entering a new era, one defined by a ruler who, while different from Augustus, possessed the skills and determination to lead. The death of Augustus marked the end of a golden age, but under Tiberius, Rome would continue to thrive. In the years that followed, Tiberius would navigate the complexities of power, facing trials that would test his resilience and fortitude. The story of 14 AD remains a testament to the resilience of Rome, a city that endured through the vision of one emperor and the resolve of his successor.